Hey guys, over 70 years ago, 1951 to be exact, Milwaukee Power Tools introduced the very first reciprocating saw, and it was called the Sawzall. Since then, the technology has advanced dramatically. I mean, look at cordless tools today, right? So currently, there's a plethora of full-size cordless tools being used by millions of people on job sites every day. For our head-to-head test, we looked at 17 of them. And we asked Bosch to participate, however they declined. We were kind of bummed about that. For our testing, our team looked at a total of 9 trade-specific criteria, and we ranked them independently to determine the best overall reciprocating saw. We looked at 3 time tests, 2-inch gas pipe for plumbers, unistrut for electricians, and a nail-embedded wood test, kind of a torture test for carpenters and remodelers. Additionally, we looked at features, ergonomics, size versus weight, decibels, noise, and price. And all of that, as well as best value and then best overall reciprocating saw. So, all the reciprocating saws were fitted with task-specific, brand new Milwaukee nitrous carbide blades for all of our testing. By removing an external testing variable like a blade, the use of uniform blades, throughout our testing, that basically ensures the emphasis of our testing is on the saws and not the blades. Milwaukee claims that the nitrous carbide technology outlasts existing carbide tooth reciprocating saw blades by 3 times, and that the blades have 25% more carbide tooth per blade. So it kind of made sense for us to try to use a really nice blade. As far as battery packs on these tools, we requested batteries between the ranges of 4 to 6 amp hour range, and this is to even out the playing field because a lot of these companies don't have very large batteries or make a 6 or 4, you know, you have to kind of give them a range. The testing and jig that we used. So to ensure repeatable even cuts for our gas pipe test, we used a jig. It was basically 4 extruded aluminum towers, these vertical rails, and they act as a rail system for a mounting platform that holds and contains the saw. At the heart of this jig is a 3D fractal vise that basically moves around irregular objects to provide even horizontal clamping force. Additional straps were used to hold the saws down in place. Again, all the saws were fitted. On this test, we used the Milwaukee 6-inch torch blades, 7 TPI, tooth per inch. And 2 carefully positioned micro switches controlled our timing, our start and stop of the cut. Our process was to raise the saws above the material with an attached rope, start the saws at their highest setting, use a Velcro strap to hold that trigger on the full-on position. And then the saws were carefully lowered onto the cut to start the cut. And at that point, the micro switch timing started and the cut sequence was initiated. At this time, the weight of the saw combined with the weight of the mounting platform, 20 pounds, was the cutting force exerted into the cut. We used Rockwell jaw horses to hold the pipe in place at the desired height and to keep it from moving. We used 1.5 inch black steel Schedule 40 pipe, gas pipe. And again, we used the Milwaukee torch blades that was suitable for thick metal in each of these saws. Every saw did was to do a time test for 3 cuts and average time. Now the winner of the gas pipe test was the Flex. It had an impressive time of 4.71 seconds. Second place went to Kobalt, the KRS 224B. That had a 5.5 second rating. And third went to the Milwaukee 1-key Sawzall with the 5.63 seconds. Slowest saw of the day that finished the test was the Worx, and that was 16.42 seconds. This test, combined with the weight of the testing jig that we used, really proved to be a challenge for some of the reciprocating saws, and it borderlined on probably a torture test for a couple of them. The strong cutting force really gave some of the more robust saws their moment to shine, no doubt. Hart, Kobalt, the KXRS, the Metabo HPT, Portacable, Ryobi, Skil did not complete this test. Metabo HPT and Kobalt saws were overloaded and they went into thermal overload. And thermal overload is a feature designed to protect the motor. It's actually a good thing and automatically shuts the saw down. Portacable and Skil saws also became overloaded, but they do not have a thermal overload protection. So the testing team stopped the test before any damage was done. Now moving on to the unistrut test, each saw received a new Milwaukee Torch, the nitrous carbide blade, 6-inch blade, 7 TPI, and again, 3 cuts recorded for time, average time. On this unit strut testing, we set all the saws at their factory settings. In fact, on all of our testing, they're set at their highest settings. And on this particular one, we suspended a 10-pound weight from an anchor strap on the forward grip of the reciprocating saw to ensure that the saw received the same cutting pressure across the board. The cut would begin with both hands on the saw. The front hand was released to let the 10-pound draw the weight through the cut once the cut started into a curve. The winner of this test was the Flex saw, and that had a speed of 3.6 seconds, extremely fast. Kobalt KRS was the second place with 4.23 seconds, and third place went to the Makita 18-volt saw at 4.48 seconds. Very fast cuts. Every saw was able to complete this test, and the slowest saw of the group was the Rigid. For our nail-embedded wood test, we took 3 2x10 joists, or boards, fastened them together, and we added 5 16-penny 3.5-pound nails to each 2x10 for a total of 15 nails. Following the same procedures as the unistrut test for weight and hand pressure and starting and stopping, we used a Milwaukee Wrecker 9-inch 6 TPI nitrous blades suited for kind of nail-embedded wood and demo, and we timed 3 cuts. Winner of this test, Makita, the XRJO5Z, had an impressive speed of 28.69 seconds. The team commented on how fast, first of all, how easy the Makita was to play and change around with the blade, but how surprisingly fast the cut was. 0.02 of a second slower was the Flex. Again, super speed fast, 28.71 seconds. Finishing in third place was the Milwaukee Super Sawzall with 29.62 seconds. Porter Cable had the longest cut at 129.51 seconds. And Skil was the only saw that did not finish the cut in this test, stopped a few seconds into the cut. Comparing tool features. When we do that from different brands, the devil is always in the details, right? And we feel that a feature assessment is absolutely necessary. So the entire team discussed the features and we scored them. Each feature was worth 1 point for a total number of 7 points. Perfect score. We looked at rafter hook, orbital action, blade release lever, LED light, the shoe plate adjustment, variable speed, whether it had it, didn't have it, how did it have it, and then of course standout features. The winner of the features section was the Milwaukee 1-key Sawzall. This saw had a total of 7 points, perfect score. This saw was well balanced, had super comfortable grip, good overmolding, solid rafter hook, really smooth, strong spring lever for blade changing. And the crew noted that the crew did note, however, that the backlight for the electronic control, which is underneath the handle, needs to be brighter or maybe a different contrast when working in sunlight operations. Just had trouble seeing it. There was a 2-way tie for second place, Milwaukee Super Sawzall and the Rigid with 5 points each. The only saw that did not have any of the features that we evaluated was the Porter Cable, and that resulted in a 0 score. Let's break some of those features down. The rafter hook. Almost all of the saws had rafter hooks, and the ones that did were metal and had kind of a swivel mount to them. The Hilti was the only exception with a narrower ABS style plastic hook. We move on to variable speed. All of the reciprocating saws tested had variable speed triggers, but only 5 allowed for an upper RPM limit setting. So of those 5, the Milwaukee Super Sawzall has a variable speed analog dial that you just rotate in. Milwaukee 1-key Sawzall has 3 preset settings on the tool and additional customization RPM controlling and settings throughout their 1-key app that is pretty easy to operate. Then we move on to standout features. Standout features are ones that other saws pretty much do not have or should be thought of about when making a purchase, something that stands out. The Milwaukee 1-key is the first reciprocating saw in its field to wirelessly link to a smartphone, track, manage, and customize the tool's usage and location. With unlimited tool customization, you can connect to the device, access preset setups for particular materials, fasteners, or you can fully customize the output speed and power for the current application that you're using. The custom profile is then saved in the tool's memory after the desired output performance has been attained, making the connection to the smartphone unnecessary in the future. Up to 4 unique profiles can conveniently be accessed from the tool's memory with the touch of a button. Additionally, your personalized profiles are kept in a cloud and accessible anytime. Using tools across a network of jobs and users is completely visible and with like an integrated tool tracking, which OneKey absolutely offers. So the app will track all OneKey compatible devices with a 100-foot radius of your phone. All the devices are traceable regardless of whether the battery is charged on the tool or even on the tool. And because the capability is built into the instrument rather than the battery, so the program will automatically keep track of the last time the tool was in the vicinity. It makes it easier for you to find missing tools, maybe improve your crew's responsibility of putting tools away. And if you're having problems finding a misplaced tool and it's out of your 100-foot range, you can ask people that have the OneKey app to keep an eye on it, broadening your search. Additionally, the OneKey also has a fixed orbital action, and this means that you can't turn it on or off. Unlike the Super Sawzall, which has a selectable orbit switch, the OneKey detects the best orbital action for the cutting material. So, pretty impressive feature. Now Hilti has what's called on-track. The Hilti 22-volt Neuron tools, they generate data which is then stored on the Neuron batteries, and it's sent securely to the cloud during every charge without operator interaction. Now Neuron batteries have an internal memory card, and that can simultaneously store up to 12 tools, information on 12 tools. Now, when the batteries are plugged into the charger, the data is automatically uploaded to the cloud via cellular networks without any setup required, which is nice. This allows users to make data-driven decisions based on site-specific tool pattern usage, stuff like that. Using Hilti's on-track software on app and web, customers can track this information by user, job site. They can even leave it at the tool level, whichever they prefer. And combined together with the Hilti Fleet Management Service, which is a paid subscription service they offer, tool data can be used to reduce downtime, optimizing tool cribs, and boost customer productivity. All right, let's talk about DeWalt FlexVolt Advantage, kind of a new thing that's just come out recently. DeWalt FlexVolt batteries can unlock more power and better performance with the FlexVolt Advantage tools, 20-volt tool. The FlexVolt Advantage technology equipped tools, basically, they're aware of that battery connection and they alter their power output accordingly. When combined with a FlexVolt battery, the FlexVolt Advantage tool gives the user more power, which is pretty cool. So, all right, moving on to ergonomics. The ergonomics evaluation in this section is purely subjective and based on the opinions of our testing crew. After a full day of running these tests, actually several weeks, but a full day of the major crew, the team sat down and ranked each tool in several categories on a score of 1 to 10, 1 being the best. For the ergonomics evaluation, the team looked at the following criteria. We did a subjective vibration test. We looked at grip comfort, ease of blade changing, ease of shoe plate adjustment, and the winner of this was the Milwaukee OneKey Sawzall. It came in with a score of 6 and never dropped below second place in any of the 4 categories. Hilti came in second with an 8 score. Third went to the Flex with double the points of the first 2, and it scored around it scored at 15. So let's talk about the subjective vibration. What do I mean by that? Well, each operator evaluator ranked the tools based on their perceived vibration for this category while performing each performance test. The average ranking was used in the final vibration ranking. So the vibration standouts were the Flex and the Metabo HPT saws. Very minimal vibration felt. The Flex actually includes an active vibration control. They call it shock shield vibration suppression. And according to Flex, it actually reduces vibration in their tool by 40%. Now, in our testing, without even knowing this information yet, we found this out later, the entire tool all commented that the Flex was one of the smoothest and least vibrating saws we used. Impressively, it did not bog down or have a reduction in power either. So it was still very powerful and low vibration. All right, grip comfort. The crew collectively assessed how the grip, surface, hand shape, and overmolding felt. Grip comfort is probably the hardest to score because, as a team, because of the wide range of shapes, sizes of our hands and that the team members have. Grip standouts were the DeWalt and Hilti. The team felt that DeWalt and Hilti saws had the most comfortable grips. We looked at ease of blade changing. That's important in a recip saw to me. Every tool in this category included a tool-free blade change. The comparison focused on the ease of changing the blades. So the entire team favored the external spring-loaded lever used to change blades. The rest of the saws use a spring-loaded twisting collet to change the blade. So the blade change standouts here were DeWalt and Hart. Both of those saws use a spring-loaded lever to release the blade, but their levers were super easy to operate with or without gloves. The Flex and Makita collets lock open, and they allow the blade to be inserted without twisting, kind of click and lock shut. The issue the team had with this, though, was that many times they were difficult to grip and sometimes impossible with gloves. And that collet could sometimes get buried down inside the housing beyond the shoe plate of the tool, necessitating you to pull the trigger a little bit to get the collet to get into position. Shoe plate adjustment. Of the tools that had shoe plate adjustments, the ones that did were controlled either by the following. They either, for example, Flex had a push button at the front of the tool housing. During the testing, this button actually recessed and got stuck in the housing, kind of making it impossible to adjust the shoe plate, and we had to fiddle with it to get the button to come back out. Upon further inspection, there was no debris or anything in there to cause that. The consensus of the team was that the fit and finish of this mechanism just needs to be improved. So Flex should look at that. The two Kobalt saws have an ergonomically placed single button, basically adjusts the shoe plate super easy. Shoe extends to the furthest point and does not come out of the tool. I like that. Sometimes it comes out and you gotta put it back in. The team liked it too and felt that this button, however, this button could inadvertently be hit while using the tool up against something and the plate could come out. The Milwaukee M18 1-key saw has two buttons, one on either side. Easily releases the shoe plate completely. The dual controls need to be pressed at the same time, and that makes a mishap kind of unlikely. So we really like that. We looked at size and weight stuff. The winner of that was Porta-Cable. To compare the saws, the overall size, compactness, the length ranking and weight ranking were added together. The tools were ranked smallest to largest, least heavy to heaviest. Smaller, more compact tools are easy to operate in tight spaces, and weight is always a fatigue factor, right? So let's face it, a lighter saw in weight that packs the punch and gets the power done that you need, that basically transcends into unicorn status. Weight is a huge consideration after performance, in my opinion. So when you use a reciprocating saw. So you want the saw to perform first and foremost. The larger saws transcended into performance winners in our testing. We sure wish it was the other way around. You often operate a reciprocating saw overhead and you know, in the task at hand or whatever, and you can quickly fatigue in your shoulders. So during the evaluation process, each reciprocating saw was weighed on our digital scale without the battery. There's so many battery variations on the market that we just kept that out. And some operators will choose smaller battery packs for overhead tasks and some may not. Porta-Cable took the size category. It measured 15 inches in length and weighed 4.35 pounds as a bare tool. Second place to Porta-Cable was the Skil, 16 inches in length, 4.83 pounds. Third went to the Hart saw, 17.5 inches and 5 pounds respectively. The longest saw we tested was the Milwaukee 1-key Sawzall at 21.5 inches, placing it in last place when added with a weight of 8.8 pounds. The heaviest saw was the Flex, weighing in at 10.67 pounds, and when added to its length of 18 pounds, it ranked it 15 out of 17 saws. So that hurt those higher performing saws. The decibel noise. OSHA allows 8 hours of exposure for levels up to 90 decibels. And that exposure limit drops rapidly at 95 decibels and higher. So clearly, hearing protection should be worn when operating a reciprocating saw because they're loud. We used a decibel meter to measure the saw's decibel level in a no-load situation at a set distance at the same height every time, approximately the user's ear, holding it at waist height, consistently across all saws. The crucial point here is that the saws were compared to against each other consistently despite decibel measurements being relative in any setting. So we handled it the same way across the board. We evaluated these saws in a no load capacity. Nevertheless, when the saws are loaded, they are way louder, right? Because the cutting material can dictate the noise level. The saws with the quietest rating, the saw with the quietest rating was Hilti, and that was 87 decibels. Second place went to Metabo at 92 decibels. And the loudest reciprocating saw tested was the Hart at 102.8 decibels. All right, from there we transitioned over to best price. Let's face it, price is always a consideration when deciding which saw is best for a user. For each saw, we did an as tested, I should say. We looked at the current bare tool price online at the time of our test. The price of the tool can sometimes be a deciding factor whether or not you buy it. And we can all agree that it is a factor in purchasing tools. So, especially people just getting into the trades, right? They're very price conscious. We also considered that most contractors, most pros are brand loyalists and they prefer to stick with their platform, and sometimes price does not matter. The reciprocating saw that cost the least was the Porta-Cable. It was $62 as a bare tool. Second least price saw was the Skil, was $89, $89.99 as a kit price. Both of these saws fall into what I would call a DIY or entry-level category. The most expensive saws tested was a Hilti Neuron, and that was $299 bare tool. We did not include price as in our overall score because the lesser priced DIY saws would penalize the higher priced, better performing prorated saws. So we left it out. Most of the saws are available from our video sponsor, Acme Tools, which I'll put some purchase links in the video description below for you guys. I want to talk about best value because this category winner often resonates with almost everybody because it shines in the tool that A, performs well in our test while not breaking the bank, right? So the best value reciprocating saw was the Kobalt, and that was the KRS 224B. And that came in 5th place overall out of 17 tools, and is the 5th least expensive saw, priced at $129 bare tool. This saw came in 4th place in features, top 10 in the nail embedded cut test, 2nd place in the gas pipe testing, and 5th in the unistrut test. It was a solid performing, well-priced tool, and one that anyone would be happy using. Kobalt really shines in some of these tests. It's like a hidden gem. Let's talk about the best cordless reciprocating saw. We've been waiting for this. The winner of that was the Flex. If you haven't figured it out, it's evident to the team that Flex is pushing hard on the gas pedal to enter the pro market, and they made a splash. This imposing saw was fantastic, and we were all impressed. 2nd place, the Milwaukee One Key, coming at 44 points. No surprise there, this is a great saw. Standout winner in ergonomics, robust features, its performance never dipped below 5 in any cutting tests. This Milwaukee saw is feature-rich, comfortable, robust saw, period. Frankly, if the Flex is a souped-up, hyper-fast, smooth-riding Chevy, the M18 Sawzall is clearly a Mercedes. Its only flaw is that hard-to-see controls in the direct sunlight. So they needed to brighten those or do something different. Now, 3rd place went to Metabo. The Metabo saw performed well. It held its own in every single category, and its smaller footprint and lower decibel ratings just propelled it to score higher in the ranks. This saw could use some improvement on vibration, and the team was not a fan of the battery eject button and how the battery comes off the tool. It's not easy to manipulate. It's always been a pet peeve of mine. All of our pro contractor team guys put in some serious time and effort into this head-to-head, if you can't tell, and we do it to provide you with the most comprehensive information available. These tests and evaluations take a ton of time. They're certainly limited in scope. We could do different tests, and we cannot do that long-term ROI testing that everybody wants to determine longevity. However, the team does see a few of these tools in our head-to-heads across the board punch above their weight, no doubt, in our testing, and only to maybe smoke out or leave us with questions about longevity down the road. And most of the time, those are the DIY tools. They score well, but they don't last long. We got lots of comments also about our rankings, how we get to them. There are dozens of ways to compare tools. We pick how we do it, and we share our data with you so you can see it. If you don't like it, you can re-rank the tools however you want. And if you don't like a particular item that we did, no problem. Just remove it from the matrix and re-rank them. It's that easy. Lastly, in case you missed it, the Toolbox Buzz Crew published 4 big head-to-heads this year. Our next head-to-head will be high capacity reciprocating saws, the big brothers to these guys. So stay tuned for that. That should be coming out in about 3-4 weeks, and then we'll start a new series in 2023. So if you haven't checked them out, please check them out. I'm Rob Robillard. Please, if you enjoyed this head-to-head, give me a thumbs up, comment, but also please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell right there, because when you do, you are notified of our content. It helps with our rankings. It's just good. Everybody's happy. Don't forget to follow Toolbox Buzz on Instagram and Concord Carpenter, which is my carpentry channel, on Instagram. We'll see you next time. Take care.